Hey guys, welcome back. It is time for Unpopular Opinions in Pokemon number, what is this, 37? And maybe the last one. The thread is sort of dried up a little bit on the back end, but we'll see if more accumulate between the two websites. We'll have to put something together, but for the time being, probably the last one for a while. So sit back and enjoy. Starting off here with Cal, who says the Lake Trio is the best legendary trio. I think a lot of people would probably disagree with that, but they're probably three of my favorites, or one of my favorite trios. I don't know what my favorite trio is, but I would say this is definitely up there for unpopular opinions. Good job. All right, next we have Whatsy Fetish, who says, if a 500% plus return on a card let you sell, it was never a piece of your collection. So, not totally sure if this means like if the market went up by that much, if the card itself went up by that much, or if someone was just offering 500% on something. I think those are probably two very different things. I typically don't sell anything that's in my binders. I don't think I've ever sold anything that was in my binders. Even when it's spiked. So I probably had that on my like Evolutions Charizards. They were like $10 at one point in time. So I guess maybe that's what we're talking about here. But yeah, I don't know about that. If it's something that people are going to buy back, if it was intended for the collection, 500%, or if it's just a 500x offer that someone's giving you for something, I don't know. It might have been intention collection, no longer collection. Seafoam Articuno says there should be a lot more vintage reprint sets released, 3 or 4 per year instead of 1 every few years. What? No, get out of here. I would not like to see that. If you want to collect the vintage stuff, collect the vintage stuff. We don't need more vintage cards reprinted. They're boring, and they exist already. Wise Whalmer says, reprints don't interest me even a little bit. I agree. Now when a set like Shining Legends comes around and styles the cards the same as how Neo did it, but with new Pokemon, that is top tier modern set. We need more of that. I want to be able to display a Shining Unlimited WotC set as well as a modern set without it being massively obvious they are 20 years apart in print. So I think this kind of like leads into the Celebrations promos that were really cool when they did like the throwback with the Zacian lv.x and the Mimikyu, like Delta species, that kind of stuff. Those were cool. I like that. We had a throwback, but we didn't have a reprint, and it was Pokemon that weren't there, that didn't get that treatment at the time, that are now getting it. I think that's a good step, and I would have liked to see a set like that, rather than the reprint of the base set Charizard once again. We don't need any more base set Charizards. We have enough. Implode says, in Southern Islands, the Japanese holo looks nicer than the English. I don't know if I've heard very many people argue one or the other. I guess it depends if you like swirls or not. If you're a swirl master, 69, you're probably going to go for the swirls. Zamas says, bulk cards are so underrated. Everyone is so hyped over alternate art cards as the new shiny thing. But if you look at only the artwork, sometimes there is actually no difference between bulk and alternate art cards. I agree. There's a lot of the same artists. Whether or not they put more effort in or change up the style. I know there's some of the alternate arts that are drastically... they look like they're specialized to be an alternate art, and other ones that look like it's just the artist had more space and maybe put more time and stuff into the background a little bit. But I agree, there are some like commons and uncommons that have some wicked dicked art, and can't forget about those bad boys. For me, opening the new product and seeing those for the first time, a part of the experience, and definitely one of my favorite parts. Even if you don't pull all those juicy hits, which is always nice to do as a set collector, because it'll save me from having to buy the singles. All right. what's he say here? You can literally take certain bulk artwork and then make it full art so it takes up the entire card instead of just the frame, slap it on a cool foil pattern, make it super rare, and voila, you got an alternate art card. See here, I do realize that most bulk cards have pretty generic or blurred backgrounds that disqualify it from being an alt art, so not all of them are candidates, and that's not to say I don't appreciate alt arts because they are really cool, but I think there's a lot of bulk artwork that is easily as good, if not better, than alt art and is getting overlooked because of the lack of rarity / shininess. That's true, but that's just kind of how it works. Also, you kind of desensitize yourself if you see it over and over and over again, or pull it over and over again, versus something that's hard to acquire. Right, Shiny Cards says, I understand the PSA scale is heavily weighted towards perfect condition, but some of the grade names are dumb / inconsistent to the average person. PSA 6 excellent / mint, yet PSA 7 is near mint. Should be excellent / near mint. PSA 3 very good, too positive a word for such a low grade. PSA 2 good, again too positive word for one of the lowest grades. Also, why have 1.5 and 8.5 but never any other 0.5s? There seems to be one 7.5 on eBay, which is a first edition Charizard. Yeah, I don't know. The 0.5 grades are dumb. There's no way that they're consistently going to grade them at the 0.5s. You might have like one employee that likes to put 0.5s on stuff for the LOLs. But yeah, and even then, anything from a PSA 2 to a PSA 5, I would argue that more likely than not, if you crack the card and resubmit it, it's going to get a different number. It might be a cool experiment that we'll have to try someday. But it's bad enough with stuff in like the 7, 8, 9 range, 7, 8, 9, 10, that it would come back different. Maybe 50% of the time, somewhere in around that. But I think your PSA or even PSA 1.5 through 5, I'm pretty sure you could roll a dice and it'd be more likely to get the result than the original grade. 90s Mayo says Tag All-Stars was miles better than VMAX Climax. Yeah, maybe. I'd have to take a look at the exact set lists. I have a general idea of what was in what, but I don't know. Not totally sure. Cerulean Charizard has had a lot of bad / underwhelming artwork. Team Rocket, meh. Gym Challenge, boring. Shining Charizard, bland. Expedition, ugly. Although the alternate non-holo art, which was used in the lottery promo, is great. Skyridge, silly. Yep, I said it. I mean, I think maybe if you're comparing these to some of the modern stuff may be a little bit boring, especially the backgrounds on a lot of the older cards. But yeah, the Expedition Charizards clearly don't do it for some people. Skyridge, I've heard a lot of likes, hates, loves, everything in between for that. But yeah, if you don't like Charizard, and if it's going to be overhyped because it's Charizard, it's going to be overpriced compared to everything else because it's Charizard. But that's just because people love Charizard. It's become the money mon. But yeah. I think everything at that point, you have to take into consideration that the amount of effort that was put in to a lot of those older cards. Not necessarily because the artist didn't have the ability to do something more with the background and everything else, but they were pretty bland. The WotC stuff, for the most part, pretty bland. There wasn't, you didn't have Pokemon in the background. You didn't have some wild stuff going on, like almost all of the modern day artwork. And again, some of those artists are the same ones, so it's not really that. It's more so the fact that I think more goes into it now than used to. DDK says, I'm genuinely curious what makes trophy cards so exciting to collect. Is it the fact that only a set number of are out there, and owning something that rare becomes the ultimate collector's goal? For me personally, I've never understood the appeal, as many of these cards, while limited in number, were given out as prizes for participants of tournaments or contests. To me, the thought of owning a card that was intended to be given out for a competition is just weird. It would be like wanting to own a gold medal for the men's 200-meter freestyle from the 2016 Olympic Games, despite the fact that you never competed as an athlete. I could see being really into collecting them if one was TCG player. If one was a TCG player, but seems like there is an appeal of these cards that extends far beyond that. Not trying to be contrarian here. I just want to understand people's perspectives on this niche of the hobby. Yeah, I think it's mostly rarity is what they're going for there. But yeah, I kind of agree. They don't do anything for me, but also, and at the same time, your error cards and miscuts and crimps and stuff like that. Like, people like certain things, and if that's what they want to collect, that's what they want to collect. On one hand, it's somebody else's trophy. On the other hand, it's part of history, and it's rare. To each their own. Cosrob, the illustrator, 97/99 trophy Pikas, TMB, and SSB are the only true trophy/grail cards. Everything else is just overhyped. That's a pretty elite list. Xylete says, where do error cards fit into the scale of English set to trophy cards, above set but below exclusive promos, or are they on a different scale altogether? I think it's just a whole different category. You can collect error cards, but I don't think it makes you any more or better of a collector than somebody that wants to collect set cards, or somebody that wants to collect modern, or somebody that wants to collect vintage only. It's just a whole different category. Same with trophy cards. You can have a collection of anything, and it could be more expensive or more exciting to you or someone else, or anyone looking from the outside. Collect what you got to collect. There's no hierarchy of like, I collect this, so I'm better than everyone else. Xyletes. So this has bugged me for a while, and I was inspired to post it here now. Please read entirely before responding, if at all. Not so much an unpopular opinion of Pokemon, but just an unpopular opinion in general, I think. If it seems too good to be true, is a largely worthless expression with a lot of subjective evaluation that could cause you to miss out on a lot of opportunities and growth experience, not just in the hobby, but in life. Raise your hand. You've never had a great deal of opportunity that seemed too good at first. I think it has some merit as words of caution, but not a rule by any means. To some, the entire hobby is too good. So I would say it should mean if it seems too good to be true, it needs more research, or in our case, if it seems too good to be true, go to the website Mount Moon. Yeah, so questionable here. I think largely it depends on whether you're saying if it seems too good to be true. I think you can probably just put in there, it probably is, rather than saying if it's too good to be true, it is. I don't think it's an absolute. I don't think people necessarily mean it's an absolute, but yeah, it needs more research. I think everyone kind of is under that understanding when they're saying that. They don't mean that you completely ignore it, but there's a good chance you want to not waste your time on it. Don't put those blinders on. So here we have Pokenostic, who says, collecting empty booster packs and boxes is basically collecting trash. Yeah, well, there's some artwork on there. I totally get it. It's not for me. Even sealed product for me it doesn't really do it compared to, I'd rather have the cards that are in the box, that are potentially in the box. But yeah, I can see how it appeals to people. You get the artwork on the pack itself or the box. Grumpy Not sure if that's how you pronounce that. Rayquaza's gum line overshadows most of its good art. I can see how that might bother some people. We have Shiny Cards, who says that's almost as unseeable as the fact that the Pokeball opens the wrong way on the back of basically every English card. Button should be on the red side. True. Unfortunate, but it's too late now. The cards will no longer match if they switch it. Pokegen says, not sure if anyone said it yet, but shiny Pokemon are overrated. In playing the Pokemon game, your objective as a trainer is to beat your opponent in a Pokemon match/game, whether it is TCG or the VGC tournaments. A shiny trait doesn't make a Pokemon stronger. High IV and EV stats do. True, but that's another thing. It's just like trophy cards. It's just like anything else. People like the hunt. People like the rarity, I guess. And it's something different. I would imagine that most shiny hunters are not looking to compete competitively on that level with their shiny Pokemon, putting themselves at a disadvantage. And even then, the new Pokemon games now, you can get a shiny and you can max them out regardless. So there's that. Using all those bottle caps, am I right? Sword and Shielders. Not all the glitters says everyone gushing over Vaporeon VMAX Altired, but Jolteon is actually the best of the lot. I think if I had to choose, probably the Vaporeon is the best, but all three of them are absolutely amazing. Both the Vs and the VMAXs. But yeah, the underwater, the Vaporeon, it's pretty sick. Martin says the energies on the back of Japanese cards are the only 7 types that should exist. All right. Zebedee says the new Radiant Blastoise looks trash. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a fan. I don't know. I think someone points it out here, and I think we have the slide, but it looks like a beer commercial swooshing around in the background of them. I'm pretty sure there's another slide here, another post that will clear that up or show maybe why that it's so off-putting. Wise Whalmer says, why does every set needs some new gimmick? Just call them shining Pokemon so people can actually have some consistency when collecting. Even if I like Radiant Pokemon, I know they'll be gone forever in like 2 sets, leaving me with a total of maybe 10 cards to collect. So it's not every set, but it's probably largely to do with the TCG, because you're only allowed to use 1 Radiant Pokemon, the same way that like Prism Stars, you can only use 1 of each Prism Star. You can only use 1 Radiant Pokemon in your deck. So it's probably some stuff like that in terms of like expanded or anything else where you have these rules or exclusions so that you're not bound to whatever the previous gimmick was. I think it's largely TCG related, but it's also just like something new for people to look at. So whether it's a break card or anything else, it's just them playing around with it. And typically TCG related stuff, but also just like a new look or card style to keep things fresh. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but yeah. Ultra Luxury Cardboard says the Radiant Pokemon don't really speak to me. The trainer galleries seem to be much more appealing. That Pikachu from Phantasma is phenomenal. I would agree. Trainer gallery for the win. Character rares for the win. Muck says TPC should always make the amount of cards in a set a multiple of 9, so it always perfectly fits in a standard binder. I hate it when a set ends awkwardly on the first slot of a new page and you don't really know whether to fill the gaps with stuff that doesn't actually belong there or leave it barren and empty. Ugh. So yeah, also the fact that like when they start making sets that are too big for like a 360 or even a 480 card binder, that's painful. But yeah, I think they're struggling enough just to like slap 2 Japanese sets together usually, that they're not really concerned about the binder stuff. But yeah, it would be really nice if it fit in there nicely. Even if they had some sort of really nice binders that they sold themselves. They do have like the Ultra Pro Pokemon Edition ones, but it would be awesome if they had actual set binders that would fit the entire set. Then you'd have to rely on them, having enough space at the back or something for alternate versions of cards. Some of them may or may not be intentional alternate versions, or they might come out later on. They don't know about them at the time, so it's probably never going to happen. We can't rely on that. It's not happening. Kurt Blake Infini says, after the paleontology exhibition, oh man, can I talk? In Japan, I would love to see Pokemon do more exhibits showcasing their connection to natural and cultural history and mythology. But first and foremost, a collab with Jurassic Park World would be nice. Probably not happening, but Pokémon says Radiant Steelix is S tier. So in terms of Radiant Pokemon, yeah, maybe. In terms of all Pokemon cards, probably not. Sandman the Endless says, set cards are better than exclusives. I would much rather have a set of Shining / Gold Star / Call of Legends Shinies than a Poncho Pikachu. I would agree. The Poncho cards don't really do anything for me. But yeah, to each their own. Remember, guys, if you like Poncho Pikachus, by all means, Ponch your Pikas all day, every day. Xylete says, I'm actually excited for the Radiant cards because they look janky. It's going to increase the interest in the OG Neo Shinies. I hate to tell you this, but probably little to no correlation in any of that. Rip Guy Fox says, there will never be a next Neo Shining set or next Gold Star set or next Crystal Pokemon set. Part of what makes these sets so great is that back then nobody saw them as investment, just as a trading card to play with or show off. The lack of focus on preserving the condition combined with much lower print numbers than today makes for a kind of rarity that no modern set can replicate. TPC might print new Shinings or new Gold Star promos every now and then, but they will never have the appeal of the originals, as people are now aware of the value and immediately keep new cards in pristine condition. And if every card is pristine, it's not special anymore. So I think they're correcting for this in a way with rarity. You can go back with the crystals or the Gold Stars. Nothing comes close to these alternate arts that are coming out now. And yes, the print numbers are much higher than they've ever been. But at the same time, you're going 50x difficulty scale here versus print numbers that are not 50x. Umbreon is the new Charizard in terms of their respective cards gaining irrational high values solely because the Pokemon is featured in the artwork. Maybe I would imagine Umbreon's kind of always been and always will be a fan favorite. So there's a little bit there to do with that. I should have also mentioned at the start of the video that you guys should check out Sakari on YouTube. Link in the description. He's the creator of this thread. Check him out. Shiny cards. Alt/alternative art should be reserved for cards like Umbreon VMAX and should only be used as a casual term to refer to any cards that have 2 or more of that Pokemon in a set with different artwork, i.e. Neo Genesis Feraligatr or Neo Discovery Espeon. So that's a whole different thing because that's not alternate art. That's just an alternate Pokemon. So the old sets or any sets that have 2 Pokemon that are the same have different attacks, different HP usually, different artwork, and they're just different cards in the same set. So you'd have to call them alternate Pokemon. They're just different. They're the same Pokemon, different cards. Rather than using it as a title for certain secret rare level modern cards that are higher up on the rarity scale, e.g. this Neo Discovery Espeon is cool. I wish they made the alt art version hollow too. The Umbreon VMAX should primarily be defined by its rarity, secret rare, or a new name, rather than the less important fact that it's one of multiple artworks from that set. So like T17 and T18, I don't think it fits. Even if alt arts didn't exist, the modern day alt arts, I don't think you would call them alt arts. Unless you're, you got to ignore the fact that they're not the same stats and everything else. BK2021 says they shouldn't make low effort special sets in the vein of Hidden and Shining Fates again. What I mean by that is recolors on a white background, VMAX Climax, effort, or stop wasting paper. This would probably be super unpopular since people seem to love those sets, and Pokemon probably made bank with them. But they should shore up their main sets first. If TG's a go and pull rates remain as bad as Sword and Shield / FS, SCVI, I don't even know how you would like Scarlet and Violet. I guess you don't really pronounce swishy. SCVI is going to surprise them. I don't know if that's like going to be the term. Will the execs be able to shift, or will they not? I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna. We'll have to see what happens. I would imagine most of the time starting out, your like base set, like even Sword and Shield base, you didn't have tag teams anymore or anything like that. You didn't have the shiny Emons, but it's a new era, so that kind of carries it. You'll probably have in the base set the legendary Pokemon, so people will be excited about those. Maybe some gold versions of them would be cool as an intro. Maybe the new energies will come out in some of those first sets with some kind of secret version of them, stuff like that. The new Pokemon and the new legendaries and everything like that, new characters, maybe a couple full art trainers. I think those are going to carry the set in the early part of it, and then later on they're going to add gimmicks. It's kind of the trend that we've seen. Wise Whalmer says HGSS over DP. Now, I base this basically not considering level X or primes since they both suck. Heavily disagree, and I think level X's are like better versions of primes. Level X are just EX ripoffs that don't live up to it all at all, and primes look whack, but at least they tried something new, I guess. I mean, I guess you can kind of say that with pretty much any chase or any of those like higher rarity, stronger Pokemon, like your level X, your EX, your big EX, your GX, your Vs. They're it's kind of the same thing, but different. Sometimes the mechanics change a little bit, but all right, what do we got here? We got a Zomus, who says, unpopular opinion, set collectors have a bit of OCD. I don't think it necessarily. They feel compelled to conform to what the Pokemon Company has determined for the set, even though they don't like the way it was outlined. Examples of set collecting OCD. They order cards in numerical order, but complain about cards not being arranged in a way they like. So long as it is in the set, they will collect cards that would otherwise dislike. This is often the case with rainbow rares. They force themselves to collect a master set, but complain that there are too many secret rares / cards in a single set these days. So, all right, numerical order, I think, is just kind of standard. I don't think you necessarily have to be obsessed with it to want to have the cards in set order. It's easier to find out which ones you're missing. It's easier to look through the set to know that you have the entirety of it. I don't think that's necessarily OCD. As long as it is a set, they will collect cards they would otherwise dislike. I mean, I don't think that is either. If you just want the entire set, even though, like, okay, there's not much value to like your commons and uncommons, but I think you can appreciate every card in a set, even though it's not your favorite artwork, or even if you dislike an artwork. It's still part of the history, still part of the set, and still is nice to have it there along with the other cards. All right, so complaining about too many secret rares and cards in the set, man, sometimes these are pretty wild. The reverses are a challenge. I mean, in this day and age, we've never been more spoiled with the ability to order cards that we're missing, trade cards with people online, whatever you got to do, whether it's like Troll and Toad, TCG Player, eBay. Very easy, very accessible to get any of the cards that you're missing. So I think there's an extreme. Fusion Strike might have been at that extreme, maybe a little bit too big where it won't fit in a 480 card binder. That's a little painful, but I think larger sets aren't necessarily as much of an issue as it is like the amount of secret rares. The amount of secret rares right now it's pretty wild. And I think they just need to trim back some of the different rarities. So like hyper rare, instead of adding hyper rare trainers, maybe they should have just given the hyper rares a retirement. We'll see what happens in the next gen. So like arranging them, I can only imagine arranging them in like you're just gonna like throw them in a pile and put them in the binder. Would be a little bit weird, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Nachi says, I think big sets are fine now because we have eBay and TCG Player, which makes buying singles easier than ever. Buying singles in the 90s, 2000s was way more difficult. In my opinion, the recent small sets have been very underwhelming. Champions Path, Celebrations, and now Pokemon Go are some of my least favorite modern sets. So I think the problem with these sets in between, these like subsets, specialty sets, whatever you want to call them, is the fact that there's still a ton of chase, and not as much as like a regular set or whatever, but the main part of the set is so small that you're seeing the same cards over and over again and hoping that that one slot is something that you don't have or something good. So the same with even Hidden Fates was not all that fun to open for me because you're basically just looking, it might as well be a one card booster pack because the other cards, you've seen them so many times that it's not as fun for me anyway. And when you're opening a lot of it. If you're not opening a lot of it, then I guess it doesn't matter. But Mertz says, I think this artwork is average at best. I don't know if this is like the best representation of the Shining Charizard, but the picture's a little bad. It looks like he's got a little bit of damage on him. You don't even get the light shining on him properly. Not fair. I'm not a Charizard baller, but I'm going to defend Charizard in this instance. Shiny Card says, Radiant cards look underwhelming at first sight because of the modern English card format and crazy modern expectations. The same artwork on a Japanese vintage card would transform the feel. I'm not saying that they should have printed this, but I put together in Photoshop in 5 minutes, just that the artwork isn't that bad or the main cause of lackluster. I think that the background really does it, but also just like, I don't know. Definitely far from my favorite Blastoise. Blastoise got done dirty a little bit, but I would say that is definitely an improvement over the Budweiser commercial that is the Radiant Blastoise. But to each their own. I know some people like it, some people don't. I'm more so in the don't camp, but all right, let's see here. We have Xyleets who says, I used to like Shining T-Tar the most, but sorry if a card says Shining the best, this is it. Yeah, I think it's I think they're all pretty nice. I don't know if there's any of them that I don't like. Needs Zeebs says, I think the majority of the Neo Destiny Shining cards are incredibly underwhelming. Most have generic backgrounds, and the texturing on the actual Pokemon is so thick and dark that you can't even really see the color of the shiny Pokemon. Not sure if that's unpopular or not. I just think they're kind of bland. I don't know. I think they're kind of nice. Zorla, they're definitely not they're not amongst my favorites, but I like the fact that they were doing something different. I like when they experiment a little bit. A lot of the Radiant cards, not really my favorite cards, but it's you gotta give them a hand for putting out the Shinings, putting out the Radiants, putting out everything in between, changing things up, keeping it fresh, keeping each era its own distinct thing. Zorloth says, unpopular opinion, I see a lot of people on Reddit/Facebook talk about how CGC slabs will eventually be worthless. The grading with CGC is incurring a humongous risk, etc. Frankly, I don't understand this view. As I see it, the worst case scenario for CGC slabs is that you have to eventually cross the card to PSA in order to sell it for a premium. Seems like a pretty mild downside to me. The idea that CGC slabs will become worthless seems to forget the fact that the value ultimately resides in the card, not in the case. Of course, you're paying a humongous premium for CGC 10s over PSA 10s, then you are incurring an additional risk. But outside of that, I really don't see the additional huge risk that buying CGC slabs poses over buying PSA slabs. So, I think at this point in time, there's probably not a huge premium on it. I think the thing that you're maybe misunderstanding here is the fact that if you're buying the CGC slabs at a good price, and if they're going to cross over anyway, if you're not the one that's grading the cards, then no, that doesn't really matter. If you're paying the same amount as what the raw card would be for the CGC slab, and you're going to put it in a PSA slab, doesn't really matter. But if you're the one that graded all these CGC slabs, and even if they were $20 a piece, and you're just going to send them to PSA afterwards anyway, then you wasted $20 on each card. And it's not a big deal if you wasted $20, but it is a big deal if you sent 1,000 cards in. 20,000. You wasted $20,000 if you just plan on regrading them all with PSA. So there's a waste in that respect. It's not necessarily risk if you're getting a good deal on it and you're going to cross grade it, or if you want to keep it in the case, and that's what, if you just got a good price on it in general, all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, it's not necessarily the fact that if you buy a CGC 10, you're immediately going bankrupt. Or a CGC slab, rather, not a 10. Muck says every unlimited non-holo of any set below PSA 9 is a junk slab. Yeah. I guess with any set that's got, like, if you're talking English and you're talking only sets that have first ed and unlimited, and not the ones later on that have, yeah, probably. I can't think of any examples, but if anyone does, please let me know in the comments. I guess maybe if it's there's gonna be like an error or something like that that would be worth grading. Martin says in 2040 there will be more first edition WotC than unlimited, and this is the last one of the video. I don't even understand what you mean by this. I don't get it. If anyone can explain this, Martin, if you want to chime in and let us know what this means, please do. Thanks guys for tuning in. Make sure you join the Discord. See you next time. Bye.